you really do feel like shit even asking for somebody for help. You already know that it's an imposition on others if you're a decent excuse for a human being. But when people are always telling you what an imposition you are after offering to help, that's even worse. My current help, as far as the lady who's trying to help me with this stuff, she's not a bad person and she's not doing bad shit. She's not even doing wrong shit. She's feeling out the situation, and much like the situation with Mandy Singer, these people are in a very fucked up situation of their own, and it's difficult to find the time. I also see how many other people that they're helping. I also know who their top priorities are for helping out here. My frustration with my current help is not with my current help. It's with the situation overall, and I vent about that angrily because I am angry about it. And it never should have been pushed this far. It never should have gotten this far. Someone at some point should have actually stopped and gone, hey, why aren't these people doing their fucking jobs? This guy's got all the evidence. He's showing me the evidence. Why is he showing me the evidence? Well, the reason I showed you the evidence is because you're the one that offered to help. I know there's another part of a cigarette in here I can smoke. With these people having to worry about their own problems, kind of like with Mandy Singer having to worry about losing her housing for helping me. Candace Bondurant having to worry about losing her housing for helping me. Her and her kids. Y'all want to say, oh, that's not my fault. That's not my fault. It's not my fault either. I didn't choose for those people to do such horrible things. Then again, are those things true or not? Why am I frustrated with people? Because they couldn't stop giving me advice. Couldn't shut up long enough to find out what was going on. They wanted to keep on saying shit like, oh, I trust you, I trust you. Oh, Sean, nobody's going to come threaten me. And if they do, I'll do this and I'll do that. They didn't do the thises and that's that they claimed they were gonna. Like Candace Bondurant claiming she'd shoot him with a 45 between the eyes. I told her it might be the cops who do it. She said, no, the cops here are pretty nice. I'm like, well, with the shit that I'm being accused of, if I have to turn in something to the cops here, I need somebody to go in with me. Oh, Sean, you'll be safe here. Nobody will mess with you. Nobody will mess with me. And sure enough, people messed with her over exactly the things that I was afraid that they were going to mess with her over. When people find somebody that they can use as their example for why we should allow certain criminal acts against certain groups of people, and then they find out that I didn't actually do those things, well, that's their eternal shame, and they'd like to hide it. They fucked up, not me. They made the mistakes, not me. I did everything I was supposed to do. I went to all the people I was supposed to go to. And I encountered all of the issues that are literally the reasons written down in our laws. The literal reasons that we have these resources for disabled people is so the things that happen to me don't happen to people like me. So that this lifelong victimization does not happen to American citizens, especially the most disabled citizens in the country, the most at-risk adults in the country. My situation shows why we are at risk and why these government programs were started. It also shows that these government programs don't work. These people take advantage of my disabilities over and over. and that includes the financial disabilities. There are other disabilities that prevent me from showing the truth, like my access to the internet and plugins with my computer. I mean, my disabilities don't magically just disappear because you think that they should. Oh, you just assume that because I'm homeless, I can't be disabled. I must just be lazy. You pretend that Tourette syndrome is drug use. You pretend that autism is schizophrenia. You pretend that PTSD is schizophrenia. You pretend that severe trauma responses from long-term abuse and long-term neglect, all of these people did the same thing with that neglect bullshit. They claimed one thing, but then when the cops said another, they never came forward. They didn't try. I could have gotten a new court date in all of my court dates because of the torture and because of the lies and because the police chose to do that and chose to help my predators. Chose to. They chose to steal evidence, destroy evidence, lie about multiple situations, and take things that were not theirs. The only difference between these other situations where people got paid and these officers went to prison, the only difference between their situation and mine is that people actually helped them. I didn't get helped. I got lied to by everyone in my life. You get to see how my sister took advantage of me. How much it cost me to get that help. And then there's the fact that she got busted lying. Nora didn't hook her up with an insurance place. Nora didn't know a thing about it. Tara made that up. Damage had already been done though, huh? She had the money. So I got Tara, Ed, and Nora. They're all fucked up out of their goddamn minds. It's a hangout thing for them. I got 9.5 hours of recordings. I only posted up 3 hours of videos. There's a reason there's 9 hours of recordings. There's a bunch of stuff they wanted to tell me that they didn't want recorded. Or they wanted to take a break from recording to have lunch. Well, guess what? My audio recording device was recording through all of that. It's recorded with Ed, this actual self-proclaimed violent schizoaffective, threatening, harassing, and intimidating me in my residence, my legal residence at that point. Yes, it was Dallas Richmond's place, but I was paying rent. I was paying my portion of the utilities. And I was paying extras because Dallas Richmond was taking advantage of me too. But you know what? I had to accept it and I had to let it go. I had to make sure that for the safety of my belongings and my evidence that Dallas Richmond was kept happy. Just like at Shannon Alvarado's, I had to make sure that Shannon Alvarado was kept happy. Just like at Brett Roloff's, I had to make sure Brett Roloff was kept happy. You can't keep a junkie happy. You dump off all these child molesters and rapists into the homeless community. A homeless community that is already full of victims of rape and child molestation. And everyone is afraid to stick up for anybody because we don't know what skeletons people got in their closet. We don't know if they actually did these things. So a lot of people are afraid to tell the truth about what they know. Rebecca Ann Gross-Nickel-Foley knows a lot. She knows a lot of my predators. She knows their character. A lot of people after getting busted lying, wanted to go back and destroy evidence. And I can go back through their messages, and it says message deleted, message deleted, message deleted, message deleted, message deleted. And I'm like, well, that's fine. I already got screenshots of what they said before they were deleted. You fucking moron. Were you really threatened? Those of you who claimed to help me, who threw me away and victimized me by claiming that other people threatened you and your life and your family and your kids. And you treated me like shit because those people threatened your life and your family and your kids. And you want to pretend like I'm the bad guy and I deserve to be abused because I told the truth. No, 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 no. There's a lot of people that did not agree with the bullshit right from the very start, and they were trying to speak out. And those people were a lot more aware of the situation as it was happening. Whereas these YouTube channel things, they don't know any of that stuff. They just know what they stole off of somebody else's YouTube thing. And in their research, it's literally going around from one YouTube thing to another, getting the slander and spreading the slander about me. My frustration with the lady who's trying to help me is not with the lady who's trying to help me. It's with the fact that she's trying to help me when we have all of these people who are paid to do this job. Paid to do it and refuse. This lady here is taking care of a lot of different people in the homeless community. Just like Rudy takes care of a lot of people in the homeless community. Just like I take care of a lot of people in this community. But I see like 5 or 6 people doing all of the work. And I see all the other homeless people out here who are taking advantage of them. It's pretty easy to tell which ones are child molesters and rapists. They're ones that aren't helping, that aren't contributing, that are bitching as if they actually care, but then doing nothing about it. They want people to help them, but then they want people to commit crimes to help them, like Natalie and Alicia Bollinger did. And then once those crimes were being committed against me and I tried to get help, they tried to pretend that I was stalking them because I tried to get help. They tried to pretend like I was stalking them because I did what they wanted. Then they tried to pretend that I was stalking them because I drove 1,700 miles to get away from them. And then they tried to pretend like I was stalking them because I was going to my friends, I was going to the police, I was going to them to try to get help stopping the abuse, because these are the things you are trained and taught to do if you are being abused. But if you're called mentally ill, nobody gives a shit. And that's the moral of the fucking story. That's why assisted suicide needs to be legal. At the end of the day, Sarah Bacon didn't actually try to do a goddamn thing to help me. You get to hear out of her own voice things that she told me. She really does exist, and she really did say those things. And the cops really did refuse to look at that evidence. And the cops really did slander my name and only get away with it by refusing to look at that evidence. That's right, I was accused of being schizophrenic and delusional because I said that people were being threatened and their lives and their families were being threatened for trying to help me. I got called schizophrenic and delusional for saying that. And I was illegally prevented from showing evidence in court, facing my accusers, or even going to court. I was repeatedly harmed and had the law enforcement with the audacity to press false charges against me after literally assaulting me and trying to frame me for a murder I didn't commit. And I have to go to these literal officers to try to turn in these crimes. Why? Because Alicia Bollinger and Natalie Bollinger are pretty. Pretty people couldn't possibly do anything wrong. Oh no, they weren't drug dealers. They were forced to do it. Oh no, they weren't drug addicts. Men forced them to do it. Sean, you forced them to do drugs before you ever met them. You forced Natalie to cut on herself before you ever met her. Sean, you forced Natalie's family to victimize her to the point that she was suicidal before you ever met her. You forced her mother to be an alcoholic and choose abusive men over her own kids. That's your fault, Sean, because penis. Because penis. She's pretty, Sean. Oh, she's so beautiful. You look like a chimo. 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 Fuck you. My predators intentionally made me a target for the public. And then when I tried to get help stopping that abuse, they pretended like I was threatening their lives. Pretended like I was stalking them for trying to get help stopping the abuse. Are you fucking kidding me? My frustration is not with this lady. It's with the fact that I have to worry about people being abused for trying to help me. It's the fact that most people are going to try to jump through a bunch of stupid hoops to begin with because they didn't listen. They didn't take the time to listen. They wanted to assume. And the more white, blonde-haired, and blue-eyed you are, that's going to become a very difficult thing to explain to you, because for a lot of blonde-haired, pretty white girls, those pretty memes are true. All she needs to do is ask. That pretty meme, those pretty words of, you know what, if you never ask, you never get help. Well, if you do ask, you won't get help either unless somebody actually cares. If you're not pretty, you're not likely to get help. If you're a fat woman, you're probably not going to get treated like a pretty white girl, even if you are white. You're a fat woman. No, people don't care about you. You're fat. That bald dude, nobody cares about you. You're fucking bald. We know this already. You're ugly, dude. Nobody in America cares because you're ugly. It's all about looks. Now, if you're ugly with money, people will care. I mean, holy shit, look at Danny DeVito. That's not a pretty man. He's not tall, dark, or handsome. He's married. Is he still alive? Of course, he had a lot of money and he was rich. And no, his wife was not that pretty. But she was rich too, and she was glad to have someone. I'm sure they made each other laugh a lot. Their senses of humor are both very similar, very dry. My frustration isn't with the lady who's trying to help me. My frustration is with the situation, with the fact that she doesn't have time. With the fact that with her anxiety, when she's trying to explain to me that she doesn't have time, she's going to say it a lot, and she's going to push it a lot. And then I'm afraid to ask her for help because I feel like I'm some sort of a horrible person for taking up her time. But I also know that if she cares, she can do something. If she cares, she can look. If she cares, she can go with me to do these things instead of telling me to do it by myself. A lot of people who told me to do stuff by myself, when I told them what happened when I went and did it by myself, which is what I've been explaining to you. This is what happens when you have to do it by yourself. These people say they'll help me, and then they make me do it by myself. And then they call me a liar because it didn't turn out how they wanted it to. There's a lot of these women who wanted to pull the, oh, well, you didn't get what you wanted right when you wanted it, and now you're throwing a tantrum. No, you didn't keep your word at all. That's case in point with Katie Cahill. For months and months and months and months, she promised to help me, but didn't. She went out of her way to do everything to allow my predators continue to fucking do that shit, and she never tried to turn it in. And then she tried to, well, basically blackmail me into taking evidence down. If I take it down, then she'll tell the truth. No, that's evidence. Absolutely not. It's not coming down. We had an agreement to begin with, and you broke that agreement. I'm not going to, in any way, shape, or form, allow you that kind of power again. She assisted my predators in getting away with these things. And according to her words, recorded on my YouTube channel, these are her predators too. If these are her predators too, then why did she help them get away with these crimes? If they committed crimes against her, why did she help them to get away? Her actions show that the words that she told me were not the same as her actions. Katie Cahill wasted my time for months and months and months and months and did everything to indicate that she was just a troll, that she was just wasting my time, that she never, ever had any intention of actually helping. A lot of y'all, you say, well, what about good intent? You know what? The road to hell is paved in good intentions. It's follow through that matters. Well, you're going to wait till right before you die and you're going to say, God, I'm sorry. I was such a fucking coward. I let these things happen. Well, what happens if you get into a car accident and get decapitated and don't get a chance to say you're almighty's? Also, now that you're dead, that victim of yours that you might have tried to repent to the Almighty about, that victim of yours will be victimized for the rest of their life now over your slander because you never actually repented. If you are actually repenting, and I've read the Bible, it's not just professing by mouth in church to a Catholic priest. No. Repenting is making amends. That's one of the things when you're in Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah, that's one of the steps. There's a reason for that. It's important. Sure, now that you're sober, you expect everybody to be all honky-dory and forget everything that you ever did. Like the time that you said your uncle molested you because you were an alcoholic and he wouldn't fucking buy you a bottle. And now that you're sober, you think your uncle should just forgive you. You have no idea what your uncle has gone through in his life because you wanted to be a fucking drunk piece of shit and do a horrible thing because he wouldn't buy you a bottle. It's a dangerous thing to help out addicts. But then you guys want us to feel sorry for the addicts. Oh, well, you got to understand. No, fuck you. We're the ones out here actually helping. We're the ones out here actually taking care of them. We're the ones out here making sure that they're fed, that they're clothed, that they don't fucking starve to death. We're the ones taking care of the predators from your family and the victims from your family. When you reject Brittany Richmond because she told on her father for taking fucking bad pictures and touching her inappropriately, and you cast her out of the family, he's convicted. He went to prison for that. But he's out and he's free now. Now, how much of that is the lady who's trying to help me's fault? None. How much of what I have to deal with and this time crunch is her fault? None. Well, some of it to some degree, because, I mean, I would think reasonably that it's Friday. I'll have to wait till Monday if she gives me the number after work. I don't know who to call even. I don't know the name of the place, and I couldn't get my computer working well enough to get the stuff off of my computer that I recorded. So, life is what it is. But is this lady doing it out of bad intentions? No. And the other thing is, she's actually listening to the help that I need when I'm bringing it to her. She's doing the same things that many other people do, but she's also at least trying to understand. Alright, I just saw a man who, well, I'll probably see him later on this evening. He's one of the people that I'm going to record when I speak to him, if I speak to him. And the reason for that is because he's one of those people that just bitches, doesn't do anything about it, and won't turn it in. complains about the child molesters here. I've offered on several occasions to help him turn them in. Oh, he can't because of his dogs, but he can intentionally piss people off to make things worse. I could understand if he was doing that because it was the last-ditch effort to try to get somebody to listen and help him. But I'm listening and offering to help. How he needs. He needs to turn these crimes in and have them taken seriously. With my experience with Hood River and law enforcement here in the state of Oregon so far, I'm not only not impressed, I'm asking for prison sentences. And I will accept nothing less. These things cannot be allowed to be done by our public officials, the most at-risk adults in the country, towards the most at-risk people in the country, the homeless and the disabled. There's a lot of people who are dead, and that's what makes this such a serious situation. There's also the repeated obstruction of justice by the same individuals over and over again. There's the fact that Dual County Sheriff Scott DaCosta utilized the Dual County Sheriff's Department and their deputies to commit crimes against me to hide his crimes. Not fucking okay. The fact that he did it repeatedly and they had to drop charges repeatedly is not okay. The fact that they were allowed to destroy evidence through illegal means, through lies and slander, and use the fact that, oh, they gave an oath. Yeah, I'll tell you what, here's something about that oath. They're allowed to lie, and that starts with that oath. We cannot take their word for it. We need to show the evidence. Rather than looking at the evidence, people wanted to take my predator's word for it. Just because they have a badge does not mean they're telling the truth, and it should not be impossible for a disabled person to get the evidence of their crimes, especially since they are recorded. Instead, they're allowed to victimize me, press false charge after false charge after false charge against me, and have me locked up repeatedly for trying to turn them in. This is apparently okay, but they would not have gotten away with it if someone would have gone in with me, actually gone in, actually with me, instead of giving me the excuses. These people promised to help how I needed, and then when it was time for them to keep their word, they didn't keep their word. They'd give me an excuse. I'd speak up and say what their excuse was, wanting to believe them and that they're telling the truth. Did the cops write down any of that? No, they ignored everything that I said. They didn't write down the things that I said. They miswrote 90% of what I said, and 90% of the stuff that I said, they left out completely. They didn't care. They were trying to help frame me because it was to their benefit, especially after the crimes they committed. How much of this is that lady's fault at Sinclair? None. Am I fucking pissed off about the situation? You goddamn right I am. Am I pissed off that she doesn't have help? You goddamn right I am. Am I pissed off she doesn't have time? You goddamn right I am. Do I think she's a horrible person for it? Fuck no. No, it is not her fault. A lot of these people, there's horrible shit that they did that is absolutely their fault. They're the ones I'm asking for to be fucking taken to court. But these other people, they need to be taken to court too. I don't mean taken to court with charges against them. I mean that their testimony is important. A witness is a witness, whether they're a felon or not. The fact that most of my predators are felons, convicted felons with histories of this kind of abuse. And I don't have a history of that kind of abuse. I don't have a history of harming people like that. What I have a history of is being abused by law enforcement for trying to turn in my predators because of the mentally ill tag. My mom doesn't want anybody to listen to the story about her and having sex with Doug Cowden, the child molester. Brenda Dickinson doesn't want people to listen to how that money that was stolen was used to buy a pound of weed and some cocaine, and half of that pound of weed went to Dennis and Brenda Dickinson to sell. Yeah, that was supposed to be my first car. That's what that money was for, my first car. Turned out it wasn't a car. My older brother had helped to rip me off. It was fucking stupid. My older brother helped rip me off. My mom went out to do something about it, and instead of her doing something about it, she did cocaine with Doug. It was paid for with that money. Shit, I was 15. 15 years old. The reason Eric came along with this is because Eric, while we were in Denver, since he was old enough to drive, he was supposed to drive my 1964 Ford Mustang home. It was supposed to be a piece of trash, but it's serviceable and runnable, and it could be fixed up nice and cherry. So I was totally down. When it turned out to be a pound of marijuana and some cocaine, I was not happy. Brenda Dickinson, my mom, and my older brother were all three a part of that situation. Yeah. The things that Doug Cowden did to me, he didn't just do to me, he did them to a lot of people. If you ask them people if he ripped them off for all that money, under the same pretense as he ripped me off for mine. See, he also ripped me off my wages and money that I had spent so that he could do his tooling, so that he could do his roofing business. My older brother had been working for him for years. But because of him breaking up with Regina Cowden, he didn't get to keep all of his tools for some reason. Then after ripping off all those people in town for the tools that he bought, ripping me off for the tools that he bought, and also ripping me off for cocaine and marijuana. That's not what it was supposed to be. I didn't give him the money for cocaine and marijuana. I gave him the money because I trusted my older brother when he told me we were going to get a car. When Doug Cowden brought a box of garbage and set it in the floor in between, because it was a van that we drove there, or that he drove there, and he set this box on the floor, and it had some trash on top, and he reached in and he pulled up a piece of cardboard, and underneath that piece of cardboard was a pound of weed. And he had a folded up piece of paper that had cocaine in it. So he and my brother did cocaine. Well, I told him what pieces of shit they were, and they threatened to drop me off. What was it? 15, 16 years of age? 16. It would have been 16. So they were threatening to drop me off in the middle of nowhere in between Denver, Colorado and Chapel, Nebraska. I lived in Chapel, Nebraska. They were making a drug delivery for Dennis Dickinson and Brenda Dickinson. And of course, why is it that they didn't just use Dennis and Brenda Dickinson's money? Well, they needed money in order to buy the drugs so that they could sell them to Dennis and Brenda Dickinson so that they could get started in their fucking drug business. Thank you, Eric Christopher Schwartz, for ripping off your brother, for taking advantage of him, for abusing him, for lying to him. That's not the first time my older brother did something like that. It's not the last time either. How much of this is this lady's fault? None of it. Yes, I'm frustrated with the situation, not with that lady. I'm frustrated with the situation that she's in, not just because it breaks my heart, but because it's fucking horrible. And no, her injuries aren't nearly as bad as mine. But that doesn't mean that she's not disabled. That doesn't mean that she is capable of doing these things for herself. She needs to recover. That takes time. You don't get to recover when you are forced to go against the doctor's instructions because you can't live on nothing. When these people tell me, oh, well, I don't know how to do that, well, let's go. We'll learn together. We will learn together. Instead of looking at it as helping me, let's not help me. Let's work together. Let's help each other. I need somebody in my corner for my stuff. I will be in your corner for your stuff. You need somebody to verify that you're telling the truth. You show me the evidence, I'll fucking verify it. I'll go in with you, and when the cops try to blow you off or tell you to do another thing, and I already know from case law that it's illegal for them to do that and that they're lying, I'll check them for you. I don't mean check them like in hockey. I mean check them like you would in court. Hey, you do not get to badger the victim. You do not get to lie to the victim and pretend like it's not your job because you're lazy. You are going to do your fucking jobs. It's not my fault these people speak bitch. It's not my fault that the people who are doing the most work don't have anyone working together with them. But this lady who offered to help me here, I'm hoping that it won't just be a one-sided thing or a half-assed thing. And I don't mean half-assed as in she just wants to half-ass it. I mean like, that she gets overwhelmed with her own life and her own things. And then can't. Although really she could take the time. The thing is she barely knows me, and she's taken enough risk. And I got to understand that. But I've taken all this risk with all of these people because I've needed help getting an advocate and a guardian, an actual advocate and an actual guardian. I cannot take care of myself. This is because of the PTSD. It's because I am forced into an environment where I will be victimized. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. None of this is this lady's fault, but absolutely I am fucking pissed off at the situation. People won't tell the truth because they were threatened, and I am supposed to just say nothing. Then they want to call me, say I'm slandering them for saying that. No, it's already in your fucking text messages with me. It's already in conversations with you and I on my YouTube coming out of your mouth. Don't bullshit me, bitch. I don't speak bitch. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and no victim left behind.